What's up, everybody? Tyson Roush. Let's talk Jets. Hope everybody had an excellent weekend. UFC fights were wild last night. Thank you to everybody that's been helping out my fundraiser. I definitely appreciate it. Supporting our veterans. Raised over $2,000 so far. I have another week and a half to go, so I definitely appreciate all the support. Free agency's around the corner. Tampering period on Monday. So all the NFL news will be coming out fast and furious over the next 3 days. And this entire offseason, all we've heard is, Woody Johnson wants to spend money. Expect the Jets to be aggressive, all these things, and the fan base is talking about, let's get this guy, let's get that guy, trade for Sutton, all these big moves. And then today, Conor Hughes comes out with the story saying, don't expect the Jets to spend big in free agency. And you look and you're like, wait a minute. You have a GM on a hot seat, a coach on a hot seat, and if your season sucks, pretty much Aaron Rodgers ain't coming back next year, and you're gonna be complacent in free agency and just set your market and not go over it. Even if it's a position of need, like guard or tackle or like that, because what, you draft so well? So I try to figure out the different thought processes behind what the Jets are doing, because that they are very aware of how the Jets act, how the fans act on social media. So maybe they released this story to temper expectations for a couple different reasons. It could be that they've gotten feedback from agents and players that, maybe guys don't want to come here with all the uncertainty around the staff and how much longer Aaron Rodgers is going to play. Or they could have gotten feedback where a lot of players they covet, they just can't afford. The market is too high, and they don't want to cross that boundary. My point is, the other point was that Joe Douglas is going to stick to his free agent plan like he does year in and year out. Does somebody want to tell Joe Douglas that his free agent plan hasn't been working? Because if you look at all the friggin' busts and all the misses, we're seeing them this year. Tomlinson, Uzama, Dalvin Cook. Look at all the money. Dwayne Brown, all the money. Carl Lawson. Look at all the misses in free agency, all the bad contracts. And you're going to tell me, I'm comfortable with the way we handle business. We're going to keep doing it that way. It's almost the same mindset when you have one of the worst offenses in football, and you bring back pretty much the offensive coordinator, Todd Downing and Keith Carter, the offensive line coach, when the offensive line was a mess. It's like the Jets come off like they're arrogant. They always act like they know more than we do. And they haven't proven it. They haven't won. What has Joe Douglas won? They haven't won anything. They don't win games. They try to win headlines, and they don't even do that right half the time. So I'm not going to go crazy overreact, because they can surprise us tomorrow or Tuesday and do all kinds of stuff. But if you walk away after a week and the Jets haven't gotten legitimate offensive line help, and you see them one by one go away, or you see the backup quarterback market get dry up, or Brissett goes into New England and Minshew goes back to Indy or wherever else, and you get stuck like, we got to beg Ryan Tannehill to come here, you've really got to question what the hell is going on with this organization. Because I'm already pissed off by the Bryce Huff stuff. Now, the Bryce Huff thing is crazy, because the Eagles, the report today was the Eagles are going to be hot and heavy on him. They want him because he's a very good pass rusher. And how do you have other teams that covet him, but the guy that you groomed here and watched him blossom into a great player, you don't need? And the funny thing is, they let him bet on himself. You could have re-signed him last year. Or, here's an idea, if you know you weren't going to re-sign him, why not trade him at the trade deadline? There's so much reported interest in him, you couldn't get nothing for him. And that happened for a lot of players at the trade deadline. But you know why they didn't do that? Because the whole thing of Aaron Rodgers may return. We gotta sell tickets. We gotta keep giving the fans hope. If we trade away Huff, there's gonna be all these reactions. They didn't make good, smart personnel decisions. They haven't been doing it. Joe Douglas is making so many friggin' mistakes, and he's gotta take more heat for it. So now you're gonna see Bryce Huff go away, and now it's like, okay, everybody's like, Will McDonald can take the next big step. You need 3 pass rushers. You're one Jermaine Johnson injury away from having a problem at pass rusher in a win-now year where you saw in the playoffs how important speed on defense is and how important it is to hit the quarterback and get after the quarterback. And you're letting one of your assets go away. Then it's like, we can just draft somebody else and do something. This isn't how this works. You keep and retain good talent. And they had several chances to do it, and they're not doing it. So, we'll see what happens. I know that they're bringing back Chuck Clark at safety, which is good. You'll see what happens with Jordan Whitehead, but you have Tony Adams. I think you kind of assume that Ashton Davis is going to come back. So if you could have Chuck Clark was a good player, versatile. He can cover. He can play in the box. Hopefully he's fully healthy and get after it. But if you don't want to spend a lot of money on the safety position, that's fine, because you got to put it all offensive line, wide receiver, backup quarterback, running back, and everywhere else. So we're going to see how this goes. Let me know what your expectations are in free agency. I expect the Jets, they can say whatever they want. You've got to get legitimate talent on the offensive line. Don't sell me some, you could see, like, if Bakhtiari happens, that's fine. But that's not like a building block. You need young studs in the offensive line. Spend the friggin' money.